Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and this is more of a what draft now, or pre-draft essentially, or draft eve, whatever you want to term it as. But what I'm really trying to say is, you're gonna get guys who sign. You're gonna get these pre-draft press conferences, like how the Cowboys did a pre-draft press conference yesterday. In their press conference, they threw a lot of bull at the wall. That's the best way I can put it. They threw a lot of bull at the wall and saw what would stick and what wouldn't stick. And as a Cowboys fan, you look at this, you're like, and I'm gonna curse a lot in this show, so don't destroy me on this. But you look at it and you're like, what the fuck? What is this? This makes no sense. First of all, I could go on and on about the press conference. They go and say, well, we have Dak Prescott at a high money and we have no cap. That's what they said before this press conference. That's number one. We got to talk about that. Uh, depletion of talent. We got to talk about that. The all in on this draft. We got to talk about that. Let's first start with the number one is like a 1A, 1B situation. Let's first start with the cap room. The cap room issue isn't an issue. It's an issue you created, not an issue created over time, an issue you created overnight. You see, the Cowboys are not like normal teams. They've never been like normal teams. They don't just go and sign everybody. We understand that. Cowboys fans understand that. It's been the same way for 10, 15 years at the same time. And the Cowboys have said, well, we don't want to do that. We want to pay our own guys. They came to this year and they go and say, well, we want our own guys. You look at that and you say, how can you pay your own guys if you're not willing to pay other guys? Too many times the Cowboys let contracts go to the end because they don't want to pay a guy when he's in contract. And too many times they don't want to pay a guy and they refuse to pay a guy in season will cost them less money. They'll wait a year and they'll end up costing themselves more money and they'll give in. That's what they do every year. Well, the Cowboys went and did this with Dak Prescott. This year, they could only start negotiating with him this year to sign a new contract. They decided we can either extend him. I don't know why I'm so itchy here. We can either extend him and move about $26 million and have $26 million of room in our cap, or we could have, or we can restructure him, make about 15, 18, maybe 20 million, and worry about the money down the road and pay him next year, which is not the best plan. It's easier just to pay him to make more money anyway. They chose a third option that no one knew existed. Let's not pay him. Let's not restructure him really. Let's move at most $2 or $4 million, so we're still tasked to pay about 55 million. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Let's not restructure him, and then let's tell him we're done restructuring. It makes no sense. And then they go and say things like, well, what about paying him in August? Why August? The season, the offseason in terms of free agents that we can go get are depleted. We got older guys or guys that no one wanted. The same thing goes with CD Lamb. Why are we waiting so long to pay CD Lamb? Could have paid him last year. You chose not to. I don't know why. You chose not to. Why are you not paying him now? Doesn't make sense to me. Not just didn't make sense. You didn't talk to his agent. Neither did you talk to Dak Prescott's agent or Micah Parsons' agent. Why have we not paid Micah Parsons? Why is now I'm not as mad at that one because there's still 2 years left and you can franchise tag him, and same thing goes with Lamb. But for Dak, you can't. You have to pay him. Or else you're letting a top 10, top 15 quarterback on the market who nearly just had an MVP year. That you can't allow. You can't allow that at all. Period. That's the issue. That has always been the issue. So I go and I'm looking at that and I see that. Hold on a second. There you go. Sorry about that. But they go and do that. They create that for themselves. You can pay these guys on that if you want. They're all able to. Everyone said, well, you could have paid Micah last year. You could not pay Micah last year. You can only pay a guy if they're on their first contract after their third year. Micah could only be paid this year. CD Lamb last year. Dak Prescott this year because of that's how the contract was structured. So they chose to not do that and wait till August, which makes no sense to me. Free agency is pretty much over at that point. But then they go to the press conference and they say, well, Dak is our guy. We want Dak. I'm not going to blink it. Well, Jerry, obviously you are. Because you can't keep playing this game of cat and mouse. It's not even a game. That's what Stephen Jones called it. It's a game of cat and mouse with the agent. It's not even cat and mouse. It's a game of chicken. It's a game of chicken. It's not a cat and mouse. Cat and mouse, at least the mouse has a chance to get away. It's a game of chicken. It doesn't make any sense. You guys just keep bouncing around and hope that it works. It's nonsense. It's what they do. It's what the Cowboys do. It's what they believe. They gaslight everybody. And then they say, well, all in, knowing that gets the media going. But they gaslight everybody. They say random things. They don't realize what they say is brutal. Now it leads me into them calling that Dak needs a depleted roster because he makes so much money. No, it doesn't. You can easily go and get guys that you chose not to get. Now, granted, the wide receiver class was not that good in free agency. It just was not. Unless you trade for somebody, it was not that good. But let's not pretend that your group is good either. They're not. Besides Lamb and Cooks, Who else is on that roster you have tremendous faith in? Nobody. Holbert at max? Not great. What about Brooks? No. Turpin? No. You have no faith in any of these guys because they haven't proven anything. Until they do so, why are we wasting our time? That doesn't make sense. And then it's this idea that they can go and draft every position when they don't have enough picks to do so. If you're going to rebuild this team and that's what you plan to do, why are we waiting a year to do that? There's no reason to. If you're not confident this team can go and win a playoff game, or win 2 playoff games, or win 3 playoff games, why are you going to say, well, let's keep this team, let's deplete the roster a little bit, and then if it doesn't work in a year, we just rebuild. Rebuild now. Do it now. Get what you can get for the players that you have, the players you want to keep that you think you can keep, and keep them. And rebuild. That's what you do. You don't go and do that at this stage. Because you're making it, and I feel so bad for all these coaches. The coaching staff is all on 1-year contracts, and so there's no future that is that you can see past this year. There's nothing you can see. Same thing with your quarterback, same thing with your wide receiver. There's no future. And you're expecting that, okay, we're going to keep the guys we're going to keep. And if it doesn't work, we rebuild and we let those guys go. Doesn't make sense. Either try to be good and try to win as many playoff games as you can by go getting the guys you can go get, or rebuild. But don't try and do both. That doesn't work. And that's what the Cowboys have done for years. Try and do both, and both don't work. Do one, you might have success, but if you do both, you won't. It's the same thing with quarterbacks. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. It's the same thing. Now, the last part of it was them talking about being all in at the draft. We're all in at this draft. Well, you kind of have to be. You didn't get anyone in free agency. Like, and I'm looking at this. You got 2 offensive line positions you need to fill. 2 starters, actually. 2 starters. Center issue, a tackle issue, or a guard issue. It all depends. You got 4 defensive linemen that left. 4. You could probably survive with drafting 2, but you have 4. 2 linebackers because you have nothing there. So you got if just at 6 people if you're going with 2 defensive linemen. Wide receiver, running back, that's 8. Cornerback is 9. I predict the Cowboys will trade down, but I don't understand this whole thing of let's do this, let's do this. You have 7 picks. And that's me taking out 2 defensive linemen as well. So you just don't have enough people. But you can go get some people in free agency if you want to. Just go do it. My thinking of this is Dallas will go draft as many positions as they can draft, and whatever is left over, they'll either deal with what they have or they'll go and sign some people. That's what they'll do. And that's frustrating because they could have done that months ago without waiting for the draft to hit. It's just frustrating. Now, moving on, there were some wide receivers that got paid, including Amon-Ra St. Brown. sources said, this was from Ian Rappaport, sources said that the Lions have hit and St. Brown have agreed to a deal, an extension, a 4-year extension, for more than $120 million, $77 million guaranteed. Well deserved, by the way. St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown is an unreal athlete. He's very talented. His story of going to the NFL is also him and his brother Equanimous have a great football story of their parents, of what their parents did for them, and how the greatest part of that story, if I remember this correctly, his father put St. Brown on their birth certificates because it would look better on jerseys than just brown. Like that's how at that early of an age, he said that these two will be athletes and they'll be on jerseys. So that's just what I would encourage you look at NFL films. They do a whole story. It's a tremendous story. I would encourage you to go and watch it. But well deserved for St. Brown, 4-year deal, more than $120 million. Well deserved. It's really more like dependent on if he had a year left or 2 years left. It depends on how that all works. So it could be as much as a 5 years actually, or 4 years because it was an actual 3-year contract. It all depends. Now, I want to make sure I have this here. Let me make sure I got this. Okay, yeah. Another wide receiver that got paid was Rashad Bateman of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was extended through 2026. Can I find the numbers here? Uh, I'm trying to find the numbers of the Rashad Bateman deal. It will take me a few minutes. Give me a second. And as we look for that, the Detroit Lions make another big extension, signing Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell, 4-year, and the Lions agreed to a 4-year contract, $112 million extension, $85 million guaranteed, making him the new highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. Great deal. Great deal for. I'm actually gonna edit this right here. There you go. Um, for Penei Sewell, he's one of the best right tackles in the league. Very much durable. His cousin actually is in this draft. Kinsley Sumatea is the cousin of Penei Sewell, the kid out of BYU. Built very similar. Penei was a little more polished, and Sumatea is a little more rough around the edges at this point. But both very talented athletes. But it's good that the Lions are making their young guys, are getting these young guys paid at the first chance. See, this is what you do, Cowboys. This is how you pay your guys right away. Just pay them. It's not a big deal. Just do it. It's more of a waste of time the longer you go. And like, I'm trying to find. Let me go back for that Rashad Bateman contract. Let me oh, let me do this. 'Cause the numbers might not have come out yet, but it's a 3-year deal for Rashad Bateman. Excuse me. It's a 3-year deal. It does not say what it is at this time, but Rashad Bateman is paid. Jamar Chase, the Bengals picked up his 5th-year option with the option deadline being 8 days away, so his option was picked up. And finally, um, Bill Belichick will be a regular on the Manning cast. I saw this morning. He will be a regular. He Belichick is already doing the Pat McAfee draft spectacular tomorrow, but as a regular on the Manning cast, probably just as I'm a coach. This is kind of cool. Let's do this. I would I would rather have though. Let's do it this way. Can we do this at some point this year? Do a Manning cast with Belichick and Saban at the same time. Can we do that? Can we really do that? And can we go and create like a podcast or a show for those guys? That would be so interesting to me. Let's have the greatest coaches of at least our generation, but probably of all time in their respected fields, and let's have them join together and do a show. That to me, if they were willing to do it, let's get someone to moderate that. That would be awesome to just go and watch Bill Belichick and Nick Saban talk football and then put a camera in the room and see what happens. Like when they did the art of coaching, that was so interesting to me. I've watched that so many times because to me that's interesting. Of them just going and being able to sit back, be mic'd up, and just have a normal football conversation about anything, about them moving assistants to each other's teams, them going and doing this, them what they see in a recruiting of an athlete, what they see in a drafting of an athlete. Like that to me, I would want to see. And let's do that. Let's create a show about that. To me, and if they say, well, we need a moderator, I'll do it. I'll do it. I want to be in the presence of greatness. I'll do it. I'm throwing my name in the hat. Let's get everyone to do this. This to me would be an ecstatic and this is I would be ecstatic to do it. That's a great idea. But Bill Belichick involved in the draft spectacular on the Pat McAfee show tomorrow on the Manning cast as a season regular. We will do a video on Friday, the first day after the day after the first round of the NFL draft, and we'll go through the top picks. We'll cover what some of the more surprising picks are, and we'll go through it step by step and how they feel if they feel the need, or if it was just a celebrity pick. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.